Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I want to take you behind the scenes of the production of the title track for the show called The Promised Land, which I had the privilege of producing. It was a lot of fun to make. There was a lot that went into it. Shout out to Mitch Hudson for having me on board, and I can't wait to show you more about what's going on. So here we go. Here's the session. You can see all the tracks here: drums, perks, vocals, Foley, I'll get to that later, trumpet, guitar, bass, Middle Eastern strings, and Emmy vocals as Middle Eastern vocals. I'll show you all the tracks in detail, but let me just play at least part of it, if not the whole thing, to kind of give you the idea of what everything's doing here. All right. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I'll have to look at individually. Like, for example, all this Foley stuff. You might have heard, like, for example, there was this string thing where there's a scene where it shows the flies over the carcasses of the animals, and so I did sort of like a caricatures type of, so that's kind of the sound effect to depict the flies there. There's also, so this right here is some rock, I call it rock clinks. I basically took two glass bottles and I clinked them together. And it's because in the scene, there's a couple of guys pickaxing at some rocks. Let me just solo that. I thought it sounded pretty good, honestly. I was surprised. And then there's this part where it's like an orchestral. That's where the sweat falls off of his face after he's hitting the pickaxe, after he's hitting the rock with the pickaxe, and it turns into blood. And there's kind of that gong hit to kind of be a sort of subtle Foley cue there. So yeah, I ended up doing quite a bit of Foley. Then there's this part. So this is That's a part where the hail's coming down on their head, and I had the wood blocks there programmed, and then I ended up banging against the wall or something to kind of like give it a little bit more of a thud. So that was pretty cool. So let's move on from the Foley and get more into the drums. So the drums are doing a pretty basic, like, surf rock pattern. So that kind of, propels forward. And let me move to the guitar, because so the way that I originally sent this track to Mitch and the group was with the guitar being the primary instrument leading. So, during the intro, there's this trumpet line. And then the guitar comes in. Right? At first, there was no intro trumpet. There was just the guitar coming in. And that was actually Mitch's suggestion that, hey, what if we had the trumpet leading in instead of the guitar? And so I wrote that line. Shout out to my friend Elijah Hall. He played the trumpet on this track. He did an amazing job. And I feel really happy about just the sound quality and the overall timbre, which something that I really was going for this track was to make it sound like it was something that you would have heard out of the 60s or 70s, like something like Misirlou, but, in its own unique spin, like definitely more Middle Eastern sounding, though Misirlou is already pretty Middle Eastern sounding, but, this has a little bit more elements that you would find in like a folk Iranian or Jordanian kind of tune, like for example, we have these Middle Eastern perks, which I found a player who played this, and it's all that kind of Middle Eastern, Darbuka and Rick, if that's how you pronounce those. And then this part, right? Middle Eastern, very Middle Eastern sounding. And then, of course, the vocalist, which I found, who I just basically asked to mimic the guitar lead. Let's see. Yeah. Right. So, which I think those two really complement each other, because the guitar almost sounds like sort of like an oud line, and the vocals obviously are she did an amazing job singing those and really embodying the emotion of this piece of music. And then of course the trumpet comes in at the end with kind of like almost like a almost like a New Orleans jazz thing, which I think is pretty cool. Kind of adds a little bit of flavor. Oh yeah, and then here's these claps at the end. Yeah. All that together sounds like this. There's that gong hit there, which, if I remember correctly, is sort of like the Israelites moving into the Promised Land, and then there's like Moses parting the Red Sea, and the waves from the ocean kind of rise up as that gong is hitting there. Yeah. Like I said, there's a lot to it. There's definitely like part of the cue that I was provided was to kind of basically convey the emotion on screen, as well as match the cues, like especially the Foley cues and all that. But I think one of the things that I ended up realizing as I was trying to match the vibe on screen was that the scene was moving quite fast. So this track had to move fast as well. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I put it to be at 165 BPM, because it was kind of the pace essentially at which the screen was moving, and it worked out really well because I didn't the music just matched at that speed, so it worked out really well. Next thing I want to talk about is this gang vocal thing. Yeah, I sang a couple of vocals, trying to really like hone in that old school, almost surfer rock type vibe, but a little bit more, a little bit more classic sounding. I definitely tried my hardest to get that to sound retro, and I think it matches the vibe pretty well. And then the bass line, the important thing about the bass line is that it basically does kind of that Middle Eastern thing. Feels Lawrence of Arabia. And then during this part where we kind of have a break with the instrumentation, the drums kind then everything comes back in at the end to kind of climax. There's really a cool part with the vocals where they kind of do like this harmonized choir type thing. Right? Yeah, it just really fills up the space really nicely, kind of brings us to our close. But this section right here is definitely... the drums kind of bringing us back into the groove. And I think that really paints the picture of the hope that is depicted on screen with the Israelites entering the Promised Land pretty well. And thanks again, Mitch, for having me on this project. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely a creative exercise for me because honestly, I don't really do much Foley work, but I was surprised at how well I was able to make some of the things happen on screen. I was surprised at how well it came together, as well as the other elements, including the Middle Eastern percussions and the strings and the vocals. Sort of out of my element a little bit, but it ended up turning out really nice. So there you have it, breakdown for the track. I had so much fun working on this project, and I hope you enjoyed seeing how it all came together. If you have any questions and want to see more content like this, let me know in the comments section, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and all that for more music production videos. So thank you again. Take care.